Hi, my name is Kate Berry from the University of Texas at Austin, and welcome to this video where we will talk about the Pirate Math Equation Quest word problem manual introduction for our multi-step word problem intervention featuring total, difference, change, and equal group schemas. Here we have intended our intervention to be implemented one-on-one. So here we see one tutor working with one student. We have 3 different PDFs that will be featured on our website. The first includes all of the teacher materials. These have all the supplemental materials templates as well as the lesson guides. We also have our student materials PDF. These include the supplemental materials templates as well as the lesson packets. And lastly, we have our supplemental materials, which include all of the posters, maps, cards, and graphs that you will need to implement the intervention. Now, you'll notice that we've included the supplemental materials in all 3 PDFs, and this is just to make them easily accessible for you as you're working with the materials. So now let's take a look at the different intervention components. So we have 5 different components of our multi-step word problem intervention: captain cards, equation quest, Buccaneer problems, ship shape sorting, and our Jolly Roger review. If you want to go more in depth on each of these different lesson components, we have videos that go into more depth on captain cards, equation quest, Buccaneer problems, etc. So make sure you take an opportunity to look at those. But just briefly here, we have captain cards. This is our fluency activity. It runs around 2 to 3 minutes. We know fluency is important for helping students do all of math more easily. So it takes the stress off of their working memory and really helps them build their confidence. It's just going to make every other part of math easier. Fluency is something that we want to implement briefly and daily. So here we see in lessons 1 through 19, we're working with addition and subtraction flashcards. Lessons 20 to 39, we're going to be working with multiplication and division cards. And after students answer as many cards as they can in one trial, they count the cards, then they try to beat their score in a second trial, and the students graph their higher score on the captain card graph, and this is one of their favorite things to do. Our second intervention component is equation quest, and this is really where we're focusing on that pre-algebraic reasoning. So understanding that what's on one side of the equal sign is the same as what's on the other side of the equal sign. So here we see a lot of activities where we have a balance and we have cubes, and students are drawing pictures as well to show the balance of the 2 different sides of the equals or same as sign. Our third component, which is really the meat of our intervention, are our Buccaneer problems. So this is our guided practice activity where the tutor and the student set up and solve 3 different word problems. And we use here our posters with our UPS check squared attack strategy and our different schemas to help us set up and solve the word problems. Ship shape sorting, which is quite the tongue twister, is our 4th activity. Here students are actually sorting the card as according to which schema we see. So here it says Kate has 42 candies, Anna has 28 candies. How many candies did the girls have? This is a total problem, so the student would put the card in the total box. So after about 2 minutes of a timing, then the tutor asks the student questions about how did you know this was a total problem? Can you show me what the parts and the total are, etc. So this is an activity where the student is sorting the card and not solving the word problem. Our final intervention component is our independent practice activity, and this is called our Jolly Roger review. You can see the top part consists of fluency practice and the bottom part is a word problem where we want students to set up and solve the word problem. The top is a 2-minute timing, the bottom is also a 2-minute timing, and then there's about 1 minute of corrective and affirmative feedback. So these are the 5 intervention components. Now let's take a little bit more of a closer look at our scope and sequence. So we can see here lessons 1 through 2, we're focusing on building those addition and subtraction fluency skills, making sure students have an understanding of regrouping, and we're also talking to students about graphs. From lessons 3 to 7, we're going to focus on single-step total problems. Lessons 8 to 10, we're introducing difference problems that are also single-step. lessons 11 through 13, and again scaffolded back in lessons 19 through 20. We're going to focus on the multi-step total and difference problems. Lessons 14 through 18, we circle back to single-step change problems. 21 through 26, we focus on single-step equal groups problems. And then from about lessons 27 to 39, we're focusing on a mixture of these different multi-step variations, and then we're folding back in some of these single-step word problems so that the students are getting practice with all of the different schemas in both examples that have single-step as well as multi-step. So now let's take a look at our 3 PDFs, or what do we have, Kate, in the teacher materials, student materials, and supplemental materials? I'm glad you asked. Let's first look at our teacher materials here. As I mentioned previously, our supplemental material templates are going to be housed in each PDF. But here for our teacher materials, you see here an example of a lesson guide. At the top, we see this scroll. Again, this is going to indicate the 5 different lesson components. We see that equation quest and ship shape sorting are crossed out for lesson 1 because we introduced those in later lessons. You can see here the materials needed for the posters, the student materials, and the tutor materials. And what we see here is what's highlighted in bold is what the teacher or tutor is going to say. And then the predicted response is unbolded. So these teacher materials are scripted. It does have a back and forth between the tutor and the student. Obviously, we're not going to read it verbatim, and you're going to adapt it to the needs of your specific students in your class, but just know that the specific step-by-step script and instructions are all in the teacher materials. We have this in the teacher materials PDF, and we have a lesson guide for all 39 lessons. Now, in the student materials PDF, I like to organize things by day. So we have all the materials you will need for lesson 1 or day 1, followed by all the materials you'll need for day 2, etc. And for each day, you will need 4 worksheets. The first is our equation quest worksheet. The second is the Buccaneer word problems worksheet. You see here the front and the back. And the last sheet that you will need is the Jolly Roger Review worksheet. And so all of these are organized by day or by lesson within the student materials PDF. So you can see here we have the equation quest worksheet, the 2 Buccaneer problems or guided practice worksheets, and then the Jolly Roger Review worksheet. So everything that you need is in the student materials, all the worksheets, and they're organized by day. I'm going to scoot over here to show you all the supplemental materials we have included. So the supplemental materials are all of the posters, mats, cards, and graphs you will need to implement the intervention. So I'm going to go through these one by one so you have a better idea of what we have featured in this PDF. So here we have our poster that features our pirate math rules. We have a token economy. We want to encourage students to use their inside voice, stay seated, follow directions, and try our best. So we talk about our pirate math rules in our beginning lessons. We also have our treasure maps. Students will put coins or they'll shade in the treasure map spaces if they are following our pirate math rules. And once students get to the end, so for here, if we're using this treasure map, if they get to the end, then we give them a prize. You can use any one of these versions of the treasure map. They are all included in our supplemental materials PDF. We also have our Counting Up poster, which is again going to help those students who are struggling with the fluency, and we talk about this a lot in our beginning lessons. Students can use the Counting Up poster to help them during the captain cards, the fluency activity, as well as during Buccaneer problems and our Jolly Roger Review. We also have our cards, addition and subtraction, multiplication and division. All those flashcards are included in the supplemental materials, and we have our captain card graph, and we also have included a multiplication table to support students in developing that fluency with multiplication and division facts. So then we also have our posters. So these are our single-step word problem posters, and these are our multi-step word problem posters. We have 4 different versions of the single-step posters, One when we're introducing total, then we have one that has total and difference, one that has total, difference, change, and then one with all four. And these, as students are advancing and learning additional schemas, we are meant to advance the mat so that it is only including pictures of the schemas that have been introduced. Similarly, with our multi-step word problem mats, we have 4 versions. So we'll introduce the one that only includes total and difference multi-step around lessons 11 through 13. And then when we introduce our second multi-step schema combination, we'll introduce the version 2 and then version 3 and version 4. So as students begin to learn these multi-step word problem combinations, you will advance the posters to reflect what they've learned. We also include our What Do You Ask Yourself poster, where students are questioning and gesturing to help them determine the correct schemas. We also have our ship shape sorting mat and our ship shape sorting cards to help you with that 4th component of our intervention, ship shape sorting. And what we have here is what's not going to be included for you. So we see a treasure box with prizes, a timer, the pencil, the coins, and the cubes. And these are all items that you are going to be responsible for providing when you're implementing the intervention. And you can purchase any of these at a teacher supply store, or maybe you're going to ask your colleague if you can borrow some cubes or counters. You don't need to use coins. You can have them draw on the treasure map, but this is what we use for our token economy on those treasure maps to help students maintain appropriate behavior during intervention time. So again, here's just an example of some setup. You can see here the tutor working with the student, and we have the posters and the Buccaneer problems. Here's another example of how you might set up your materials. We can see the What Do You Ask Yourself poster. Here it looks like they're working on ship shape sorting, so we see our sorting cards and again some of our schema posters. So thank you guys so much for taking this opportunity to go through our manual so that you can have a deeper understanding of what materials are included in our teacher PDF, student materials PDF, and supplemental materials PDF. I'd like to take a moment to thank the Institute of Education Sciences, UT Austin, and the Meadows Center for Preventing Educational Risk. Without their support, this work would not be possible. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.